Hello, I'm Rachel Lyons and I'm the Artistic Director of Frontlinedance. Frontlinedance is a disability-focused integrated dance company, and we also work with older people and in healthcare settings too, and we started in 2001. And so we've been established now for 18 years, so we've done many projects over the years. We started as a touring company and then breached out into education and community work. And over the last 5 years, we've worked more in hospital settings and more non-traditional settings, and also we've just branched out and done a Frontline Arts Festival, so doing different art forms than dance and being more citywide as well. The Frontlinedance team is different depending on what project that we have. So we've been really fortunate over the last 3 years. We've had Elevate funding from Arts Council England, which meant that I had support with administration, some marketing support, freelance fundraiser, as well as a company manager, and as well as business development. So we've had a great team for the last 3 years. That funding's run out now, so there is myself, who's full-time, and we also have some freelance support in terms of administration and company management. In addition to that, we do have our freelance artists, so people out there delivering the work. So when we plan a new project, depending on the size and the scale of the project, we usually start off with some ideas, our dream, what we'd love it to be, and then we start looking backwards. So we look at when we want it to happen, and then we go back and look at all the different things that we need to achieve to get there, and how much it costs is an important thing, so we know what kind of funding or the level of funding we need to source. And near the beginning, one of the first things we do is we talk to partners, so it's about partnership development and also seeing if there's a need, so doing a little bit of market research with our audiences and participants to see if people actually want to do the kind of things we think they want them to do. When I'm creating or making some new work, I seem to like to challenge myself. So rather than making one piece for theatre, I end up normally creating about 6 different pieces for different places and different environments. So we've just created a piece called Seeing Me, which is actually 7 different pieces, which was created for the 6 towns of the city, as well as a special piece for people with visual impairment. So what we did with that is we've created something for a very small space, so the audience can be up close. And in addition to that, the dancers talk through what they're doing. So not just describing the movements, but how they're moving and why they're moving, the intention behind it, how they're interacting with the other dancers. So it gives that person who can't see a real sense of what they're seeing and why the dancers are dancing in the way that they are. Depending on what dancers are available for the different projects, sometimes we audition, and during that audition I'll make sure that's a really full team of really different dancers, and I usually look for different types of people because I like working with personality. I often work with the dancers first through improvisation and getting their ideas around the theme or the topic or the idea that I have, and then that's my starting point. That's when I start to direct more, that's when I pass on some of my own movement. And in terms of co-creating with the community, it's always really important to us that whatever we're producing represents who we're dancing to. So a lot of the work that we do isn't for a theatre audience as such, it's more for like patients or staff in the hospitals. So whatever the theme is, we'll speak to them and get their ideas first, and then that will be what our dance will be about. So there's a really shared process from start to finish, because once we perform we get their feedback straight away as well. We talk to them, so it's a constant sharing of words, feelings, experiences. So the last one had a strong community involvement as well as professional dancers, so it was integrated together. The work I did in hospital were purely professional dancers, and that was because we're dancing in a hospital and we're dancing all over in wards, and it's quite a hard thing to do, both emotionally and also spatial awareness, for example. We need to be really careful. So it's a combination, it changes depending on the project and the setting. Historically, we've been a project-based company, and those projects usually come from a grant, and that could be anything from Children in Need grant to Arts Council England. We've had some funding from the Local Network Fund and Esme Fairburn, and basically we heavily rely on grant funding. In addition to that, we've got our Friends of Frontlinedance, which is people who normally are participants or members of staff who want to help us out a little bit more, and we do some fundraisers throughout the year, and they're normally social fundraisers because it's a great opportunity for all our participants to meet each other and to socialise and have that opportunity. And we have, at the moment, we're on Golden Giving, which is an online platform which is free of charge, so people can donate online to us. And also we've been successful in having money from the local council and local initiatives, as well as business sponsorships. So that's one more what we're going into now, is trying to get some more support from our local businesses. I think the impact of our work varies to the audience and varies to the person taking part in the workshop or the residency that we have. Sometimes it could be giving somebody the opportunity to see something or take part in something for the first time, and that impact can be quite strong in terms of giving that person the confidence or raising the awareness of things that person would never even thought existed. Our aim is that we want to change the negative preconceptions around disability that people have, and that's cultural as well as the attitude, and we also want to showcase the fact that disabled artists and disabled professionals are is equally as good as their mainstream peers, and it's just that there hasn't been the platform to do so, and so we want to create that platform. My art form is contemporary dance, and I think being an integrated company makes the work more accessible for those who wouldn't normally see contemporary dance. It sort of breaks down a lot of barriers naturally, because there's so much more to see and there's so much more to think about. So I really hope that that's what our work does, and that's what people tell us, so I think it is working. 3 years ago, we didn't believe that we were reaching our audiences, so we had a complete rebrand and a website developed for us as part of our Elevate funding, which is all about organisational development. In addition to that, we've got social media and direct emails to people, and before each project we create an audience and development plan, so we're looking at specifically who we want to target and then look at the best ways of reaching those audiences. So Frontlinedance has been based in Stoke-on-Trent for the last 18 years, and the reason why we're here is because it's my hometown. So it's where I was born and it's where my family is. We feel that there still isn't enough going on here, so our focus is still in this area as well as North Staffordshire. I think there's so many people here who want to and can benefit from the type of work that we do, and so that's why we continue making work and for the audiences and for participants of Stoke-on-Trent. So Frontlinedance is a disability-focused dance company, so we're always thinking all the time about our own practice, how we make that inclusive, and obviously we have to make everything inclusive. So and accessible for everybody so they can come and take part in what we do. And the majority of time we have a integrated delivery team or performance team, which means it's disabled and non-disabled employees that are in the company. So it's something we have to think about all the time, which can be difficult because not everywhere is very accessible. So apart from the practicalities of having wheelchair access, which includes a toilet, somewhere that doesn't have a toilet for wheelchair users is not accessible. And we also, for our Frontline Arts Festival, really thought about how we could create a festival that is accessible for everyone so people don't have to ring up and check. So we had audio description, we had a British Sign Language interpreter at every event, and we made sure that we had easy read documents. We also do social stories, which is great for people who need a bit of preparation beforehand. So it's like a photograph, some descriptions about what people might expect. And we had places where people could relax if they had chronic pain or also if they had anxiety. So a different space in the venue that we were working at, as well as some bean bags or seats for people to sit down and to rest and to get some quiet. So in terms of the work, something that we've been working with in terms of people with visual impairment is having a real think about, as a choreographer, when you're making work, creating a script that you can give to an audio describer, and that script contains a lot more than just the visual of what the person's seeing. So what's your intention as a maker? So that can help that person who can't see the work but is experiencing the music, experience the sounds, and experience perhaps some shape within what they can see. I think it's always thinking about the different types of people who are coming to see the work. How can you make it accessible for them right at the start of the process rather than having it as an add-on at the end? There is always challenges, and I've never found any project has gone to plan or has been easy to create, easy to deliver or easy to manage. I think people are challenging. There's so many different types of personalities, and not everybody thinks the same. So we have to be accommodating and adapt and deal with all of the things that come around with lots of different types of people being together in the space, working on something, finding funding for the work. We've had so many projects that we haven't had funding for, so they've had to be put to one side. And after spending perhaps 3 months writing that funding application, it can be really hard to get a no. So I find that very challenging. And one of the biggest things as a disability-focused organisation is access and lack of space. So there is hardly anywhere that we can have an office which is affordable, as well as accessible, as well as rehearsal space. As a dance maker, there isn't anywhere really in the city that is appropriate for us to use, so it's always compromising space to what we actually need or what we actually want, because there's nothing in the city for us at the moment. So that's very challenging. I think advice I'd give to other people is to try and find somebody else who you can do it with. I think doing things on your own is really tricky and really challenging, and if you had somebody who shares the same belief and you work really well with, then doing that together will be my piece of advice, along with talking to people, saying hello, finding out who's here in Stoke-on-Trent, and not being afraid to pick up the phone and call people, because people do want to help.